Hey everybody, welcome to JK Next Garage. Today, Kelly and I are going to replace the dash and dash pan in here now that the upper cowl and lower cowl are done. So stay tuned for that. Alright, so I got to get the center line of the dash pan here. So what I did was, I've got my body cart lines centered right here. I've got a center mark here on the firewall and on the upper cowl, but to transfer this mark over, I ran a string. I found the center in the back and ran a string so I could get that mark for the dash pan. I'll show you where I took the center marks in the back here. So back here, I just took a measurement from this corner of the rear window to this corner of the rear window, and I'm going to put a mark, and that's where my center line is for the string. So once we put the dash and the dash pan in, I can line up the center, make sure it's straight, because I do not want it being able to look down the center line of the hood and then see that the dash is off. Got that on the side there. I dropped it down, and the center line of the dash right here is fine, is nice, it's centered. So one other thing with this is, you can see I've got this dash kind of lined up, but you can see the gap here, and that's from that on this side and on this side. You can see how high it sits, and that was from, remember in the previous video I showed how high this sticks up. So I think what we're going to try and do is I'm going to try and bend that down, and we'll see how that works out. Alright, so you saw how the gap in that dash pan was up, so we're going to take some pliers or something and get this bent down and see how that works out for us. I'm just going to use some of these clamps here that I got for welding. Haven't used them yet, so this will be the first time for this, but we're just going to clamp these on here, something like that, and then bend it down. This side wasn't too bad. It wasn't sticking up too far, but anyways, we'll set that dash in there and just see if it goes down. All right, so after messing around with this a little bit, it is fine. The nothing's touching underneath on the upper cowl, so it's just a matter of having to clamp this down with screws and get it all manipulated in there. It's not that bad. So all right, so I've got the old dash laid on the new dash, and I marked out these little holes here. These are for the windshield support and for the chrome trim pieces. So I marked those out, and where these little tabs are, obviously the new one does not have tabs, so I'll pull this off of here and show you what I got. So I marked them with a gold Sharpie, as you can see. So after I get done putting this on there, I can get these holes drilled. I'll probably lay the old one right back on there again after it's all installed, and lay it back on there and re-drill these holes. All right, so that's the two dashes, just using the old one as a template. Got my holes all marked out. So yeah, I think we're gonna try mocking up this dash and dash pan. There's the new dash, and we'll get that mocked up inside there, get it bolted on, and see how it looks. Done. We can drive down the road. Or not. All right, Kelly's kind of holding it in place. We got to get some clamps on here. Yeah, aftermarket stuff. I mean, it doesn't all fit real good, but I think we can clamp it down and everything will line up, and I'll show you once we get it clamped down. Well, this is the reason why you don't throw your old stuff away. So as you can see, I got this clamped down exactly where it was when we took it off of there. Getting some distances because the new one doesn't have this tab. So I'm taking some measurements down, and all these little holes here for the chrome trim pieces and everything. I'm taking some reference measurements from here to here and just making sure that we're close. So yeah, we'll get this clamped on there. All right, so dash is all clamped on there. The dash pan is. It's right where it needs to be. We're right lined up with our center marks. These holes, I know they're sticking out a little bit. That's for the holes behind there. Those are for all these little trim tab mounts for your chrome trim. That's so that when you run those screws down, at least this is my theory, is when you run those screws down, I'll show you on the old one, that they don't dig into the upper cowl there, because there's holes exactly where all these little trim piece holes go. So that's my theory on that. I don't know. If I'm wrong, then hit us up in the comments and let me know what those holes are for, but I think that's what they're for. Anyways, all right, so now we are going to making sure that our dash is right. And turn the light on here. So we want to get the steering support rods in there. So we'll get to those. Got those all nice and cleaned up, Kelly did, and they're looking really good. They look brand new, for crying out loud. So let's get those. All right, so as you can see, we got the rods in there. Everything's lining up real nice. So how we got this in here was we have our bolts underneath here that we bolted through there. Pretty self-explanatory. Bolts through the top. There's another bolt over there. Another bolt over there at the end. We got that clamped down. I wouldn't recommend clamping that down until you get your rods in here and your bolts in the other end and get your dash pan in. I clamped it down first and tried fighting them bolts, getting them bolts in there for the column support, and I took that off and everything kind of snapped right back into place, so where it really needed to be. So we're going to get some screws in the top here, get this all ready to go for the next time we put it in, and then we are going to put in the firewall, or try to put the firewall in. So I'm going to take this dash out so we've got room to work, and then we'll put it back in later. But that's how we got our dash put in. It's looking real good. Okay, got her all screwed down, or screwed up, like I like to say. Then we got like 4 or 5 screws in the top up here. That'll get me lined back up. As you can see, there's still a little gap here, but we can get that sucked down, and I think there's some stitch welds that were right in here. So got the dash screwed up a few times to the dash pan, and then in here got some screws there for welding that up, and up inside there I only put 1 screw in there for right now, and so everything's pretty much in place. Over on this side, same thing. Got a couple of screws in there right now holding it. So we took all the bolts out, everything. So yeah, that's looking a whole lot better than the old one. So all right, we'll get to taking this back out, and then we can start on the firewall. Almost forgot, one last thing too is we will reconnect these tabs. We'll get them trimmed up and put in there and tack them back on both sides. Okay, one last thing again is seam sealer. If you're going to finish your dash pan on the top here, Jonathan at Vinyl Village Garage, I had messaged him on what I should use in here, and definitely some seam sealer. I'm going to get some brush on stuff like he recommended and get it all worked right down into that seam. Right down into that seam so that I don't have any water coming up through if we get caught out in the rain or anything. So that's it. I got my reminder on there. So yeah, that was the last thing. Don't forget your steam sealer before you put that dash pan down. Well, that does it for the dash and dash pan. Getting it all put back into place. Aftermarket stuff, yes, it doesn't fit real good, but you know, a little tweaking here and there, and it's going to work out just fine. I like the looks of it. I'm really liking that all the rust isn't falling off of that stuff now that we got it all changed out. So thanks for coming along. Hope this helps with you getting your dash and dash pan in, and we'll see you on the next one.